The year was 2011. The hype of the PlayStation 4 was beginning as the PlayStation 3's life cycle was coming to an end. But here I was, stuck in my room with a PlayStation 2. And honestly, I cannot even complain. I was very happy since the PS2 had so many games and also a wide variety of genres as well. It felt like everything great released on the PS2.
Terminator, fucking classic. I haven't played it yet.
One day, when I was out to buy some games for my PS2, I noticed this game called Half-Life on the shelf of a local game store. It immediately intrigued me. It kept me wondering, why was the box orange? I mean, come on, I was a kid. Not gonna think about tits at that age, am I? And also, why the game was called Half-Life. So curiously, I got the game and brought it home. And let's just say, the rest was history. This is how Half-Life is stuck with me forever.
My files. Just one of those days, I guess. They were having some problems.
My
down there.
God, what are you doing?
Come on, Gordon. You trying to get me into trouble?
Good morning and welcome to
Right from the title sequence, this game had all of my attention. The one thing that I noticed about this game is the fact that you are in control from the very beginning. Unlike other games on the PS2 at that time, which would start with a 10-minute long cutscene and then you being able to get in the game and actually play it, Half-Life lets you be in the shoes of Gordon Freeman right from the get-go with no bullshit. And I really liked that. The graphics didn't blow me away because I saw games like The Sands of Time, Grand Theft Auto 3, and I mean, come on, are you kidding me? You see this shit? And you think this is gonna blow me away? No, of course not. But I had to learn that graphics aren't everything at some point. We're in a tram going to work late and there is this announcer lady talking to us in an ominous way. Can't help but be uncomfortable because the tone of her voice sets a contrast to whatever is happening around. And as a kid, it never left my mind. Even the basic interactivity with the NPCs charmed me too. They weren't anything revolutionary by the time I played the game, but they had a kind of soul which I just didn't get from many games. The fact that I had to follow what was written on the wall in order to find out where I needed to go was also a sign that this game will not hold my hand. I needed to be intelligent about what I was gonna do and where I was gonna go. Exactly like real life. And after I got the suit and headed towards the experimentation chamber, the resonance cascade started and the game took off.
Been informed that the sample is ready, Gordon. It should be coming up to you any moment. Look to the delivery system for your specimen.
Gordon, get away from the shut it down. No, attempt to shut it down. It's not shutting down. It's not.
Look, I'm not gonna bore you with what happened in the game, as I'm sure you all know the story by now. So let me just tell you why this game stuck with me forever. In Half-Life, you are given multiple weapons. Each weapon is a tool for you to deal with a specific problem. Each recurring combat scenario is a puzzle where you are figuring out how will you make it out alive while at the same time spending minimum resources. No checkpoint markers are smart, as that way you had to figure out where you needed to go. The gameplay is so simple and yet so deep. That way, it really put me in the shoes of a scientist, as scientists see problems through the lens of science, and in order to solve these problems, you need to be as logical in your thinking as you can. He's not a professional military combatant who knows their way around a gun and weaponries, which is why the gunplay not being that impactful actually makes a lot of sense. But the idea of you winning against the odds made a lot of sense too, since you, the player, is solving every problems one by one, which means the game is not unbelievable in its storytelling. The fact that you have control of Gordon for the entire game also helps with this narrative too. And when you combine all of the elements of the gameplay together, it's all about run, think, shoot, live. which is the game's tagline. As a kid, I had absolutely no idea what the hell was going on in Half-Life. Hell, I didn't even know why the game was called Half-Life. All I could personally make up of that I was playing as Gordon, a nerd who is late for work, and that was it. But my inability to understand what was happening at the core of the story didn't actually affect my ability to enjoy it. If anything, I was very eager to understand what was really going on. After the events of the Resonance Cascade, the entire facility was falling apart, and survival was the only objective. As I kept playing the game, I kept falling in love with it. Everywhere I go, there is a problem and I needed to find a way to solve that problem. When I made it to the part where the guards tell me that I needed to get topside as soldiers were coming for our rescue, I realized that okay, now I actually have a proper objective other than to just survive. But when I made it to the soldiers and realized that they are the enemies as well, kid me didn't really grasp why they wanted to kill me. As for me, it made no sense at that time, but I was happy regardless, because I get to fight new enemies. And this is how, even when I had no idea about the game's events, I was still intrigued to play it. After a while, the black female assassins came in, and it really threw me off when I was dealt with the first ever scripted cutscene in the entire game, in which you actually can't move or do anything.
Nice hit.
Alright, we got him.
Where are we taking this Freeman guy? Topside for questioning. What the hell for? We got him. Let's kill him now. And if they find the body? Body? What body?
But it made complete sense, since Gordon was knocked out. If that happened in real life, the outcome would have been probably the same, minus the soldiers actually not killing you. Fast forward to where the game made it clear that you are too much of a nuisance for the soldiers to deal with, and that's why they are ignoring you and actually pulling out of the operation. Normally in games, if a type of enemy stops appearing, it makes you happy because you don't have to deal with those kind of enemies ever again. Unless, of course, if those enemies are super fun to fight against. But it was the first time where this has happened in a game, and I was actually genuinely horrified. I realized I was the only human being left on this base along with the aliens. And if you give anyone a chance on whether they would fight actual human beings or aliens from another planet, I think more people will choose the former. After I reached the Lambda core and was told that I had to deal with a being who is basically the final boss, I started to come into the conclusion of the story. The fact that the story was told through the environment was absolutely mind-blowing to me. It kinda made me realize that modern games sometimes lose the strong foundations of a good game because they rely too much on text and not on environmental storytelling. I was starting to love the game because of its gameplay and design rather than the graphics. When everything was said and done and I got rid of the Gonarch and Nihilanth, I met this guy. This guy have been watching me the entire game and I didn't know why, but I always noticed him as a kid. It was this moment that unfolded everything to me. He was watching my performance in dealing with the current situation that I was met with, and he was impressed. So much so that he wanted to hire me and gave me an ultimatum. So I accepted his choice and the game ended.
Time to choose. Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.
Still to this day, I think about those days of my life when it was so much simpler. Every morning, I would wake up and play this game on my winter holidays as I had no school or duties to deal with. Just me, my PS2 and Half-Life. It's crazy to say this, but I would trade so many things to get back in that time when I was playing this game without a care in the world. And it all happened because Half-Life was out on the PlayStation 2. And that is how Half-Life is stuck with me forever. Thank you for watching. This video is like a diary of mine, just talking about a time when life was simpler and Half-Life was part of it. Thank you, Valve, for making such a masterpiece, and
I will see you up ahead.